welcome to a brand new series of Unspun. We're on twice a week during the election campaign with a show that will cut through the hollow sloganeering. That's right, we're on the side of the law-abiding, strong and stable, silent majority who work hard and play by the rules in the squeezed middle while just about managing. So, what's been happening over the past few days? The Lib Dems launched their manifesto today, and their leader, Tim Farron, faces a challenge in his constituency on June the 8th from Fringe Party candidate Mr Fish Finger. This follows a long tradition of comedy political candidates. As recently as 2015, the pub landlord Al Murray ran, hoping to stop comedy character Nigel Farage becoming an MP. It's been revealed this week that when briefing Donald Trump, security advisors include his name in as many paragraphs as possible because he keeps reading if he's mentioned. They must be a fascinating read. North Korea has the capability to launch Trump, an attack on Trump, America, Trump. This is a good briefing, by the way. Best thing I read since that Dickens book, Oliver Trump. A schoolgirl in Somerset told Conservative candidate James Heapy that she'd vote for Scottish independence, to which he replied, "Why don't you F off back to Scotland?" He later claimed it was a joke. Yeah, there are jokes you do in front of kids and jokes that you don't. And ones where you tell them to F off back to Scotland are in the same category as ones where you make your penis look like a helicopter. Still to come on Unspun, we'll have a special report from our Asia Correspondent Phil Wang, and I'll be joined by the former Special Advisor to Gordon Brown, the man who said that under Jeremy Corbyn, Labour are fucked, Labour candidate John Woodcock. As always, I'm joined by my house band of real MPs. They've got a ticket to ride and they don't care because they can claim it back on expenses. It's MP4! Now, you may notice a bit of a change in the band. 3 of our MPs aren't here. We've got no Kevin, Greg or Pete. They're all off trying to save their main jobs. Luckily for us, this is Ian's main job. Each show will have a different roster of politicians and musicians standing in for our brave boys. Ian, like many a major franchise, MP4 has had a bit of a reboot. Who's in the lineup this week?
Yes, this is the ultimate MP4 boys band. Introducing them, we have a man that worked for Gordon Brown and Ed Miliband and survived. It's Lord Stewart Wood of Anfield. And over here we have, until very recently, the MP for Barnsley East and just about to become the Chief Executive of UK Music, it's Michael Dugher. And on the drums, we have a man that was at the heart of Tony Blair's 1997 campaign, now works for the BPI, it's Ian Moss.
Well, fellas, thank you all for joining us this evening and for filling in for the band. Ian, are the other 3 worried that they're going to be replaced?
Well, they're very worried they're going to be replacing MP4, absolutely. When they hear the band tonight, they've been texting me all day saying, what's it like and when can we come back?
Do you think their electoral fates would affect the fate of the band?
Well, I think if that was the case, there would be a revolution in the country and, of course, there'd be an uprising and Greg Knight would finally have his position as President of the UK.
Thanks very much. The election campaign is fully underway. In case you haven't been concentrating, here's the latest. Theresa May is favourite to become our next president, about to create a landslide that couldn't be more likely if she was in charge of a badly run African diamond mine. Labour are about to set to lose more seats than a fire at a DFS warehouse. The SNP have unveiled their new idea for 2017, the same idea they've had since 1934. The Lib Dems are trying to be the party of the 48%, despite polling at around 10%, leaving them completely buggered, which Tim Farron has now clarified isn't a sin. Current polling suggests that the Tories could have an overall majority of more than 100. That means Britain will have no effective opposition. To put that into context, that's exactly the same as now. Since the start of the campaign, Labour have been keen to talk about policy, and yesterday they launched their manifesto. Again.
The Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has officially launched the party's general election manifesto, some of the details of which were leaked last week.
The Conservatives claimed the figures didn't add up, but Mr Corbyn called it a fully costed manifesto for all generations.
For the many, not the few. Thank you very much.
Labour's manifesto outlines an ambitious spending commitment of an extra £48.6 billion. And through new taxes, they're going to raise, you're not going to believe this, exactly £48.6 billion. The way Labour make the figures balance is pure fiscal brilliance. There's a £3.9 billion contingency, which just happens to be precisely the right amount to make the figures add up. So how does this mystery sum make it all work? Owing to the inherent difficulty of forecast receipts, we have allowed for a degree of uncertainty and not allocated full tax receipts from the listed measures. In other words, it just fucking does, all right? One of the flagship policies of the manifesto was on transport.
Labour will take our railways back into public ownership and put passengers first.
You can't be a left-wing Labour Party and not have renationalising the railways in there. That'd be like Ken Livingstone not mentioning Hitler. Nationalising the trains may sound radical, but from 2009 to 2015, the East Coast Main Line has been publicly run. Not only that, but it had been profitable. Nationalising the trains is even popular with Conservative voters, 48% of whom supported the policy in 2014. People might not trust Corbyn to deliver a national rail service, but if the arrival of his manifesto is anything to go by, the trains won't be late, they'll be 5 days early. So how will Labour pay for all these spending commitments? Their big announcement is to tax those earning £80,000 a year more by bringing them into the 45p rate of income tax. So what do people earning over £80,000 a year make of it? ITV picked one at random.
We know that the top 5% of earners in this country, those earning above 80,000, will have to pay more tax. Do you consider yourself a wealthy man?
Oh, come on, ask him something difficult. That is a total gift of a question. This is what left-wing politicians call in the trade a Ross Kemp, because it looks hard, but really, it's soft. All you've got to say is MPs get paid too much, which you've always been against, and that you'll lead by example by paying more tax. Go on, Jeremy, show them how it's done.
I consider myself adequately paid, very adequately paid for what I do.
Yeah, well, maybe he's just warming up.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because of you're an MP and you're Labour's leader, you're on above 130,000.
Yeah, what I do with it is a different matter.
Of course you're a wealthy man!
People will be shouting at the TV saying, of course you're a wealthy man.
She knows me so well.
Just say it. You consider yourself a wealthy man.
No, I'm not wealthy because of where I put the money.
Where you put the money? What, in a shredder? Corbyn later clarified his position in a statement, saying, I'm not rich. We've gone over the figures, and Diane Abbott assures me I'm in the poorest 1%. Outside of the election, the main news has been the cyber attack on the NHS by something known as a ransomware worm. The cyber worm apparently gained access after a gullible nurse replied to an email from a rich Nigerian relative she'd never heard of. There are now reports that the attack may have originated in North Korea. To bring us the latest on this, we need an Asian correspondent who is bright, not dim. Some people call him Phil Wang.
Thanks, Matt. Asia, the only continent as wide as your mum. I'm Phil Wang, and this is Asia News. Yes, Matt, the hunt for the perpetrators of the worldwide WannaCry cyber attack has identified North Korea as the likely creators of the ransomware code. What a bunch of dorks. Nerd Korea, more like. No wonder South Korea won't go out with them. A cyber attack that hit the United States, the UK and China, WannaCry might be the first thing ever launched out of North Korea that didn't instantly fall into the sea. South Korea, meanwhile, has just sworn in a new president. Moon Jae-in has won the snap election called following the impeachment of previous President Park Geun-hye. A snap election is, of course, when the leader of a country is decided on a game of snap. Voters ultimately felt drawn to Moon, almost as if he had his own gravitational pull. Mr. Moon used his inauguration speech to vow to bring peace to the Korean peninsula, promising that, if necessary, he would be willing to fly to North Korea in the right circumstances. The right circumstances presumably being a full Iron Man suit. Elsewhere, China has announced it is preparing a moon launch, a statement that must have worried a certain South Korean president. Though this is a significant step forward for China's cosmic ambitions, it is yet to match the United States, whose President Donald Trump has done more than anyone to encourage moving to the moon. And finally, animal control groups in India are developing contraception methods to manage the excessive population of rhesus macaques. Monkeys, of course, reproduce regularly because they're all swingers. The most successful method so far has been to capture and inject the pests. Scientists had previously tried teaching the macaques how to put condoms on with demonstrations, but the monkeys kept nicking their bananas. I'm Phil Wang for Unspun. May you ho tao, may you ho ai.
Thanks, Phil. Westminster is often called a village, the only difference being it's the only village in the UK with nobody from UKIP in it. Now we're going to hear from politicians about what Westminster village life is really like.
Exciting.
Amazing.
Intimidating, and I didn't expect that.
There are just corridors and corridors of wooden panelled, walkways and wooden doors, all of which look identical. And I did open a door thinking I was going into a room, and it was literally a cupboard.
You suddenly realise you've been parachuted into a cross between Hogwarts and an 18th century assize court crossed with Gormenghast.
But you want to look as if... So when you do open the broom cupboard, you kind of go, yeah, good, broom cupboard. And then you wander off as if that's exactly what you were planning to do all along. So I spent a lot of the first day inspecting broom cupboards.
Definitely when people answer the door without any clothes on. That's always a challenge.
I went to a door, I was a new MP. I said it's David Lammy, and this woman shouted, "Oh my God, it's David Lammy! Let me just go upstairs and take my bra off."
When I go delivering, I often take the dog with me. I just clip her to my belt. And there was one time I was delivering a leaflet, but just as I was about to put it in the letterbox, a lady opened the door, and we got chatting. I was giving her my spiel, but I could see she was becoming increasingly distracted. And I realised why, and I looked down, and my dog was pissing on her footpath. And I just kind of went, hope I can rely on your vote.
I actually knocked on a door once in a house I grew up in. My line was going to be, I used to live here, but as soon as the door opened, he saw my rosette and told me to clear off.
What's the worst thing that anyone said to you on a doorstep?
Fuck off.
Join me after the break, where my guest will be a Labour politician who once worked at the heart of 10 Downing Street, outspoken critic of Jeremy Corbyn, John Woodcock. Now it's time for my special guest. He's been a Member of Parliament for the past 7 years and has a reputation for his outspoken nature. He was once a close confidant of Gordon Brown in Downing Street. Please welcome Labour's John Woodcock.
Go, go! Go, Daddy, go, go! Go, Daddy, go, go! Go, Daddy, go, go! Go, Daddy, go, go! Daddy, go, go!
John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Are you going to be good?
Well,
let's see what happens. This must be such an incredible period in your life, not just as a Labour politician.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm utterly delighted there's been this snap election called. I mean, I didn't want to be going till 2020. I mean, having a few years. No, it's extraordinary. There was an incredible amount happening in the country, and although I could have, done with the next few years being an MP, we do sort of like elections because politicians do like having the focus on them. They do like talking about themselves. I mean, it's great, you know.
There are positives to it. United's General Secretary, who's very influential in the Labour Party, Len McCluskey, said this morning that if Labour... said that if Labour end up with just 200 seats, which would be about 29 less than they currently have, that would be a success. Now, the seat that you're in is highly marginal.
Yeah,
as someone who represents... Would 200 seats represent a success to you?
No, it wouldn't. I mean, where Len and I are in agreement, unusually, is... I mean, I've said from day one, the Tories are going to win this election. Theresa May called this snap election because she was 20 points ahead in the polls, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see what's going to happen. But the idea that it is a success for Labour to lose seats, for there to be fewer Labour MPs standing up for their community against what we know is going to come if there is a Tory landslide government. If she gets back in, there will be threats to our schools. I mean, already our schools are seeing the first real terms budget cuts for decades. There will be threats to our hospitals, and there needs to be as many Labour MPs as possible to stand up to that.
But, as you say, the polling doesn't look that good at the moment. Do you think there's anything Jeremy Corbyn can do in this campaign to turn that round?
Don't do it. Probably not at this stage, other than, you know, not doing anything for the next... No. Look, I have already got myself into hot water for the last... I mean, you know, the last basically 2 years for saying what I think about Jeremy. And I thought on day one, when the election was called, I'm going to be asked this right the way through, and I'm just going to be honest. So I said what I said about him. He's a massive issue on the doorstep. I mean, there's no point in denying it, and not in a good way, but I think me and so many of my colleagues are making the case of, we know the Tories are going to win nationally. Who do you want to represent you locally? Do you want a Labour MP who's going to stand up for you, or do you want to have this sort of sea of Tory nodding dogs, these Tory yes men who aren't going to stand up when things get tough?
Obviously, a lot of people do like Jeremy Corbyn, and you see his popularity in various rallies and the way that he reinvigorated elements of the Labour movement. I mean, do you think sometimes maybe your wing of the party, the people that you're friends with in the party, are the problem, that if people united behind Jeremy, the Labour Party might be more successful?
I don't, actually. Look, unquestionably, he has really fervent supporters, and there are a significant number of them. I mean, you know, they've taken over a party, a mainstream party in British politics. But and locally, you know, I've Jeremy Corbyn supporters saying, look, what are you doing? But what do you say to that? I say to any of them, just come out on the doorstep with me and see. And I mean, I did have just last week a really commendable guy who came out, had his wearing a Jeremy Corbyn T-shirt.
So what's it have on it?
Well, you know, it had the great man himself, obviously, you know, pride of place. And I mean, you can imagine the response on the doorstep. But so look, I don't agree with people who are obviously still the ardent Jeremy fans. But where I do have a great deal of respect for them is, you know, I'm sure they don't particularly like me, just as I am not a great fan of Jeremy. But many of them are actually coming out to help and to support Labour in areas where there are candidates who are not fans of Jeremy, and that's a good thing.
You've alluded to things that you've said about Jeremy before. These weren't just said it in private, sometimes on social media. There was one...
Sometimes that wasn't my fault. Because, I mean, direct messages and public Twitter, it's really confusing. and I would never swear in public, knowing that a Tory dweeb with a tape recorder is in a meeting, or on social media. So, I mean, basically, I've been totally stitched up.
By yourself?
Yeah, maybe, but, you know.
There was one tweet in particular that got the coverage, the one that I think was meant to be a direct message, and it was when David Cameron was Prime Minister and Corbyn was against him. It was this fucking disaster, worst week for Cameron since he came in, and that stupid fucking list makes us into a laughing stock.
Do you know what I most regret? I said worst, not worst. I mean, there is no excuse for poor grammar.
Obviously, you have a relationship with the current Labour leader, but you've been closer to previous Labour leaders. You worked in Downing Street alongside Gordon Brown when he was Prime Minister. There have been so many rumours about that time, about his temper and the way he behaved. Did he have a ferocity about him?
Well, look, I didn't know what to expect because I came in from the outside and someone gave me...
Best place to come in from, usually.
Smart. Someone gave me advice on... he said, look, the thing to do, if Gordon starts getting angry, particularly if you look like you're about to get it in the neck, then the trick is to immediately get even angrier than he is about the same thing. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe it! He's dead! I'm going to kick his head in, and that like snaps, and then Gordon goes, oh no, hang on, So you're supposed to be the one who did the impression. No, calm down. We need to be fair. And the bollocking is averted.
John, all the best with it. Thanks so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us. Great. Always a pleasure to see you, John. Thank you so much. That's all we've got time for tonight. I'm back on Sunday night when I'll be joined by the outspoken Conservative peer Saeeda Vazi. Remember, we're on twice a week during the election, interviewing candidates and political figures from all parties. Now, to play us out, it's our very own coalition of chaos, MP4.
We know who's running. We know who's hiding. On election day, they're gonna be in hope that you will understand. Oh yeah, and vote for their plan. They keep on running with the charms. Election day, they're gonna hope you know and that you will understand. Oh yeah, you'll vote for them.